Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and I'm honored to be here as a moderator for this panel discussion on a very, very exciting topic, the role of LNG infrastructure in the global context, given the focus on energy transition and also the energy security. And we have a very esteemed panel today to discuss on various nuances in this topic. We will be discussing on the geopolitical context, implications of the geopolitical and economic implications on the LNG market. We'll discuss about, the demand-supply trends in LNG globally. We'll discuss about the execution challenges surrounding around the kind of capacity addition which we are witnessing in the global context in the LNG market. We will also discuss about the price trends on the LNG, the pricing volatility, overall impact on the user industries. We'll also discuss about the new emerging segments like small LNG and the opportunities and the challenges around that. So there are quite exciting nuances and the topics that we have as part of the panel discussion. And so let's start with that. So let me start with Mr. Sandeep Jain first. And as we are aware that globally the LNG capacity is about 470, 480 million metric tons, and a lot of capacity is getting added in the global market, particularly in US and Qatar, and in other countries as well. So how do you see the overall capacity addition upcoming in the global LNG market? What kind of execution challenges that you are seeing with respect to these upcoming LNG capacities? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kadam. First of all, my apologies, my throat is real bad. Due to the weather, due to pollution, I'm not sure. Well, this is a very common perception which is going on, making rounds in the circles, that there's a lot of capacity addition taking place and it is going to impact LNG market in a very big way. Yes, of course, right now around 480 million metric ton of capacity is there, out of which around 400 million metric ton of LNG trade is being done every year. And the major exporters definitely are USA, Australia and Qatar. USA and Qatar being in the top three, and USA and Qatar are two countries where the capacity additions are underway. So if we take the case of USA, there are around 200 million metric ton of projects which have been announced. In fact, announcement is much more, but to my perception, around 200 million metric ton is something which is being talked about very seriously right now. And it is expected, my expectation is that in another 5 or 7 years time, not earlier than that, around 80 million metric ton of capacity will get added to the existing 80 million metric ton. Not more than that. Because we cannot go by the announcements, and basically if you see in 2019 around 71 million metric ton of FID was taken, but only 15 million metric ton of capacity addition in LNG has taken place. Now, US particularly, Qatar also will discuss. Qatar is around 48 million metric ton of capacities which have been announced, where the at both NFE and NFS, at both the sites, these are moving very fast towards FID. But if we talk about US, there are many predominant challenges. In fact, the Biden pause, which came into being on 26th of January, it has actually paused the progress of all the projects coming over there. Because there are regulatory issues which have come into play. As per Biden pause, the exports are not possible to the countries where there is no treaty. So therefore, as per the pause, it has to be the environmental clearance, everything has to be rewritten, it has to be reset, the process needs to be reset. Now with Trump coming in, there is a euphoria in the market that very soon all this Biden pause will go away along with him. But this, Mr. Kadam, let me tell you, is a misnomer. It is not going to happen as soon as it looks like. And even if that happens, I mean, even if, let's say Trump comes and he announces that, okay, the pause has gone away. But then the environmentalists, the judiciary is also very active. What we have seen in recent times, it's not only the regulatory challenge, but the judicial challenge has also come to the fore. In fact, the FERC permits which were announced, I think couple of 3 years back, they also have been put on hold. Rio Grande is the case, Texas LNG is the case. So in fact, if the permits are granted, permit gets granted, but even after that, the judicial challenge will also be there. It would be better that this pause goes after the actual resetting of the system. Only then there will be some kind of certainty or some type of consistency which will be there. But in fact, this capacity addition will come in a very staggered way. It is not going to be a wave of LNG which is being talked about. Okay, 26, 27, 28, there is going to be spurt, there is going to be spike. I don't think so. It is going to come in phases, and the markets are ready to absorb these phases. And in fact, the pricing, etc., which is being talked about, it is only the spot pricing. And spot pricing is what? It is hardly 30 to 40% of the market. All these projects which are coming up in US, which are nearing the FID stage, everywhere they have already tied up. Most of their volume is already tied up. So whatever, I mean, impact on pricing is, it is not going to impact any price of long term. But at the same time, yes, spot prices will get somehow impacted. But again, it is a demand and supply game. The moment, I mean, first of all, there is not going to be any crash in pricing. This is my perception, that there is not going to be any crash. There will be, of course, price may go down from double digit to single digit and might get stabilized over there. In case price goes down further, then the demand, particularly in Asia. Now you look at India. Indian demand is very much directly proportional to the affordability. The moment it comes to the affordable range, the prices, the demand will shoot up. Similar is the case with China and other Asian countries. So the demand-supply gap is dynamic. It will achieve its balance, and the prices will get stabilized around, I would say, $9 to $10 dollars per MMBTU. So therefore, I think, and Qatar is a very stable country. I mean, this 80 million metric ton capacity will come, and there also, they are on a signing spree of long-term contracts. But the spot market will range around $9 to $10. That's my projection.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sandeep Jain. So let me come to Mr. Sumit Kishore. So do you also see, your views on the downward, direction on the LNG prices as far as the spot LNG is concerned? I mean, do you also agree with the likely moderation on the spot LNG prices over the next 3 to 4 years?
Thank you, Mr. Kadam. I think Mr. Jain has quite elaborately clarified that it's not going to be a flood of LNG coming, neither is there a drought of LNG coming. So we will be seeing somewhere between the flood and the drought. Now, just to tell you, the LNG market has been a very volatile market. We have been there in this market for last 20 years, and we have seen these kind of ups and downs. The main pillars which control the pricing at this moment are the increasing demand, which is pushing the prices slightly upwards. Then the second pillar is, of course, there are a lot of FIDs and expected projects which are likely to get commissioned in next 3-4 years. Then, of course, there is the geopolitical tensions. This is a new, pillar which is emerging, which was not there so prominently earlier. But now, every couple of years, we are seeing some geopolitical misalignments which are causing not only political tensions, they are also causing operational challenges with respect to scheduling of ships and routing of the cargoes. And the fourth pillar is the infrastructure development. Whether the demand countries, the mostly projected demand is going to come from Asian countries, and India is expected to be the pillar of that demand. Whether the requisite infrastructure is gearing up for that, because any infrastructure play takes at least 4 or 5 years of from the planning stage to the actual execution stage. So while we have the required LNG terminals, today there are around 47.7 million tons of LNG terminals operating in the country. If you take into consideration the other under construction, which are under conceptual stage, it is around 67 million tons. But if you see the target, the vision of the country, the Honorable Prime Minister had targeted a 15% in the energy basket of natural gas by the year 2030. And if you go by, I can understand, I can definitely agree that this is a very ambitious target. But once we are targeting that, and it is none other by the Honorable Prime Minister, and it is considering the environmental goals, the net zero goals of the country, definitely we may reach somewhere, if not 15, whether 11 or whether 12, that's up to all of us, the industry, we are all responsible for making it happen. Let's try and achieve that. So price sensitivity is the most important thing. The infrastructure, I believe, while the terminals are there, a couple of more terminals may be required, but the pipeline infrastructure has to grow. The pipelines, today GAIL is operating around 16,000 plus kilometers. Total operating pipeline length in the country is only 24,000 kilometers. If you add up the pipelines which are going to come in few years, it is hardly going to be 34,000 kilometers, whether this is sufficient or not.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sandeep Jain, and sorry, thank you, Mr. Sumit Kishore. So you brought the important element of geopolitical situation and the geopolitical implications on the LNG market. So let me, come to Mr. Ivujani, and so while, of course, I mean, there is a geopolitical situation which is going around, Russia, which everyone is aware of. And so how do you see the gas supply situation, from Russia to Europe, while Europe has been traditionally dependent on Russia as far as the gas consumption is concerned? How do you see, given the geopolitical situation which is currently prevailing, how that supply is shaping up in the near future? What is uncertainty around that? And secondly, what could be the implications in terms of the LNG supply in the global context if that output, if that supply were to be curtailed, from Russia to Europe?
Thank you very much for your question. Really, now we have, within 2 years and a half, we have different political and geopolitical situation. And definitely it reconstructs the picture of supply chain in LNG. But just follow the statistics, we see that despite so-called imposed sanctions, and especially oriented on Asian countries from European Union, for example, to stop buying LNG or just shorten volumes of LNG from Russia. We see that as for European Union, practically the volume which we supply now is approximately 16 million tons. Just an example. France is a leading country in buying Russian LNG, and approximately 5 million tons. It's the biggest amount starting from 2022. We have long-term contracts with Belgium, with Spain, France, even Germany, which practically resigned contracts with Russia, but it buys it via France. And besides that, we see CFE, Securing Energy company, which appeared in place of Gazprom Germany. It gets LNG from Arctic SPG, one of the biggest Russian projects. It means that practically we have a stable flow from Russia to Europe. And it allows to keep prices on a very relevant level. What is my focus due to factor of Mr. Trump, new president of USA definitely, who promised to increase supply of American LNG. Oh, definitely, I think he will follow his commitment, but nevertheless, we see problem with supply via Red Sea, with Houthi attacks, and I suppose it will not allow to change the situation drastically in Europe. So mostly he maybe will orientate on Asian market, but prices will be more or less stable during long period. In case of any attempts to refuse from long term, European countries cannot refuse from, totally refuse from Russian LNG because it demands unite voting in European Union. No chance. And I think most of countries will continue purchasing LNG from Russia, keeping price on the same level. But we have enough volume, total volume in Russia of LNG. First of all, we have biggest resources of LNG in the world, and despite we have, besides that, we have practically 30 million tons capacity. Now we supply to Europe only 50%. It means that we have enough capacity to send it to all other parts of the world.
Oh, great. So thank you for your perspective. So with that, let me come to Mr. Gyanendra. And so how are you seeing the overall demand trends and the share of gas or LNG in the overall fuel mix in the global context first? And what are your insights to offer here?
Good afternoon, Girish. Good afternoon, fellow panelists and everyone. Thank you. See, the role of LNG has been increasing over a period of time. If you see around 10 years back, the out of overall traded commodity as a natural gas through pipe and LNG, the share of LNG across the border trade was roughly around 30%. Now it has reached to 45%. And with the geopolitics playing its own role, what my earlier speakers also highlighted, geopolitics of energy, I would say, it has been in the existence, but of late it has been on the forefront and common man is being impacted. Earlier, it is not that. The whole Iraq war, or it is my perception, I may be wrong also, most of whatever was happening, quite a few things securing energy, either in the form of oil or something. Now, gas has become the new oil. And specifically the conflict we saw, the pipe gas supply is getting down and then it is being taken care through the LNG. Otherwise, also in overall gas consumption, global gas consumption being just in excess of 4,000 BCM, if you see, it was around 10% of the consumption around 8-10 years back. Now it has reached to 14%. LNG share in overall global consumption has been increasing and it is expected to increase. Specifically, why with that confidence I am able to say, the kind of natural gas being exported, it was not comprehended by any one of us being in this industry for around 3 decades or little less than or little over 3 decades. Few years back, people were expecting Russia to be the big importer, and it turned out to be now the biggest exporter. Agreeing to some extent with the fellow panelists, while people say and it is perceived. Over 1040 MMTPA pre-FID discussions has been happening. But because of not only the regulator giving permissions, even judiciary playing its own role, things are not that easy. But it is estimated to be now presently in excess of 480 MMTPA capacity. By 2028 and or latest by few projects get delayed by 2030, the expected capacity will be 700. And this energy is a very simple game of demand supply, very plain simple. If momentary supplies goes up, demand centers come up, because momentary prices of spot commodity goes down and the perception will go up. Good part is that I perceive, based upon the certain analysis, going forward 2026 onward, at least till 2033-34, the market is expected to be well supplied, balanced market, neither so-called tight market. This will again add to increasing share of LNG in the global natural gas consumption. As fellow panelists have also highlighted, most of the Asian markets are the targeted markets and they are quite price sensitive, and specifically India. We have seen India consumption going down below 20 and now coming back to 26 plus MMTP, I mean to say. And fortunate, India is not like in dire need of one form of energy like what Europe experienced. They need the gas at any price just for the survival. We are blessed with the geography. Neither we are too hot nor we are too cold. Give me the right price, I'll give up my other source of energy and go to the cleaner. But if you just tell or sell your product in the name of the clean, environment friendly, first is the survival. We are still a country where per capita consumption is less than 1/3 of the world average. We have ample market. This is message to the whole globe. Give me the right price, I'll give you the market. We have ample scope to consume energy. We are coming with huge infrastructure development, economic growth, industrialization, and we are not only the market consuming by ourselves. We are ready to make for the world.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Gyanendra, and I think you touched upon various nuances. So we just discussed, the global dynamics in the first round of discussion so far, and the clear key messaging here is the capacity addition is going to happen over the next, 3 to 5 years in a staggered manner. They will range anywhere between 100 to 150 or even at best 200 million metric tons per annum, which is almost 30 to 40% of the existing installed capacity, which is currently there in the global market. And with that background, definitely the global LNG market is going to be well balanced, well supplied. And depending upon the demand supply situation, there is an expectation of moderation in the spot LNG price levels in the years to come, and that is something which is encouraging trend when it comes to Indian market, which we'll discuss, because Indian market is price sensitive, and that's the next round where I would be requesting insights from the fellow panelists. So let me come to Mr. Sandeep Jain. So with that background, how are you seeing the gas demand in India? What are the key drivers? And how do you see the dependency on LNG in India, given the fact that the domestic gas production itself is declining? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kadam. So, before the key drivers, I would like to bring to the notice of the audience the major statements which Honorable Prime Minister has made. One is that by the year 2047, we should be 30 trillion economy. Right now, we are around 4 trillion. Another important announcement which has been made is that by the year 2070, we should be net zero. So therefore, everything is related to energy. Last year, we had a growth of around 8.2%, moving towards the target of GDP. And this year also, we are likely to touch around 7. And in fact, last year, we have beaten all the estimates of so-called credit rating agencies like Fitch and others. And this year, though the Q2 has gone slightly down, but I'm very sure that we'll be touch around 7. And in case which is very likely because the drivers are in place, we are likely to touch this 30 trillion economy. And unfortunately for India, India is an energy-starved country, and you need a lot of energy. Other than coal, which is of course 56% of the present energy basket, everything else is imported. Like oil is imported, gas is imported. So therefore, there is a large dependence upon other countries. We need to develop our own sources. It becomes very important. But at the same time, this is something which our Honorable Minister also says. It's an energy trilemma in which we are in. On one side, we have to provide accessibility and availability to the population at large. It's a very largely populated country. And on the second side of this triangle of trilemma is the affordability, that it has to be, it is a price sensitive market. The price has to be affordable to the customers. And the third line which has just got added is the sustainability. So at the same time, like developing economies, we also want to be net zero by the year 2070. So therefore, the role of gas becomes very vital in this entire context. And it is our estimation, I mean, there are different projections available in the market, different studies. Some says 150 million metric ton. There's one KPMG study in 2021 which says that will reach around 150 million metric ton of gas by the year 2030. But in Indian Oil, we also commissioned I would say, our internal working, and as per which we will be around 80 million metric ton by the year 2030. The way we are growing, we are right now at 52, likely to end at around 56, 57. Last 2 years have seen, including this one, that the growth has been around in double digits. So therefore, out of 80, as Mr. Kadam, you have rightly said, that the domestic fields are declining, but maybe in another 5 to 6 years, few of the domestic fields will get added. So at the most, out of 80, the domestic production will be around 30. So there will be 50 million metric ton of LNG which will be imported into this country. And for this 80 million metric ton, the key drivers, I would say, one of the key drivers is the CGD sector. Around 307 geographical areas have already been allotted. The work is going on, and out of which only around 95 are basically, we can say, developed areas. And rest of the 200 areas are under development. That is where the actual growth of gas is likely to come. And as the projections are that gas is likely to stay between 8 to 10 in another couple of years, this will make it quite affordable. So there is a lot of potential in CGD sector. Right now it is doing around 10 million metric ton, and in all probability it will get doubled, more than doubled, in another 5 to 6 years. By 2030, our expectations is that it will be around 20 to 25 million metric ton.
Sure. So thank you. So with that kind of exciting growth opportunities in the domestic market, let me come to Mr. Sumit. And so certainly from the sector standpoint, how do you see the availability of the gas pipeline network? Because that is also very critical. So and there are still inadequacies in certain pockets. So what are your views, and what kind of pipeline capex which is happening in the country? How that can be mitigated to ensure that this penetration happens more deeper? Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Girish, for raising this very vital question. In my earlier round also, I touched upon whether our pipeline infrastructure is sufficient or not, whether we are aligned with the dream of 15% of natural gas in the energy basket. I see a great lacuna here, Because if you compare developed countries like the US and the European Union countries, which are developed markets for natural gas, where the consumption is close to 25% in the energy basket, the pipeline density per capita or the pipeline density per kilometer square, if you compare that with India, we are less than 1/20th of those. So even if we are not able to reach to that levels, there is significant augmentation of network which has to happen. Now, everybody knows that around 307 GAs have been awarded by PNGRB, and we are expecting a lot of network laying by these CGDs in the next 4 or 5 years, if you take the minimum work program into consideration. But how many of these will be able to fulfill those MWPs? How many will not? That's a question to be asked. I think PNGRB is doing its task by monitoring very closely. But the cross-country pipelines also, if you see last few cross-country pipeline bids, only why is it so that only PSUs like Indian Oil and GAIL are bidding for those? Now, if I'm not questioning the role, but the PNGRB's role is not only to give easy access or affordable competitive access to the customers, the role in infrastructure building, whether the regulation, the pipeline tariffs are in sync, are they giving proper returns to the pipeline entities. GAIL, we have a portfolio of different businesses. We are laying the pipelines, we are putting the pipelines wherever we are told. We are not getting those returns, but we have a larger business portfolio, so somehow it is getting absorbed. See, in India, there is even no commitment for anybody to book the pipelines a priori. So anybody putting the pipeline has to take that business risk, and afterwards, when the tariff is fixed, it is fixed based on a normative utilization of the pipeline. We are having pipelines which are still more than 10 years old, but the utilization is in the range of 10%. So what we should do for whether we should promote long-term booking of the capacities in the pipeline. Today, short-term booking is it costs the same whether you book for long-term or the short-term. So the general trend, the general thought process is why book for long-term. Now this puts a lot of stress and the business risk on the pipeline operators. So lot of work has to be done. As GAIL, we have been giving lot of connectivities to the CGDs, facilitating. We have given more than 150 hookup points. Every day we have an online portal where the pipeline, anybody willing to book capacity in a pipeline, they book through a portal. It's a very simple process. We accept the request and we give the capacity tranches. So far we have booked more than 40,000 capacity tranches in our pipeline. So the system is in place, but then we have to make it more robust for inviting more infrastructure investment.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the message.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sumit. So let me come to Gyanendra, Mr. Gyanendra, and you represent Petronet. So except Petronet, Dahej, most of the LNG terminals, they are operating at suboptimal utilization levels. So what are your views? So how that utilization levels can be improved? What can be done for that? Yeah.
Thank you, Girish. I think taking leaf out of answer of Mr. Sumit Kishore, one of the main reason is the connectivity. Dahej being the first terminal, and time to time it has been upgrading itself. Today have connectivity of around 35 MMTPA equivalent evacuation capacity of the pipelines, whereas other terminals are not that blessed. Even PLL's one terminal at Kochi is languishing underutilization over a decade. It's the connectivity to the main market, to Bangalore and to the national grid. Had it been established, perhaps the story would have been different. Similarly, IOCL's terminal in North, but now perhaps I am quite positive on one thing. Awareness has come in, not only in public, not only in industry, not only in the consumers, it is the policy makers. And why I am saying the policy makers are facilitating, public is also facilitating to some extent. the situation 10 years back and now the things have changed. So I'm hopeful the connectivity will rise, and the numbers thrown out by Government of India and Honorable Prime Minister are not out of air. These are the doable numbers. Only there are the boundary conditions, constraints, if they are well taken care in the timelines. So even 15%, theoretically if you calculate 15% share of gas in energy basket can be calculated around 550 to 570 MMSCMD. Presently we are at around 200 MMSCMD, and only in the next 5-6 years, though it looks very, very ambitious. But if we start working from every angle, if not 550, at least we can cross 350. That's doable. Main thing, LNG infrastructure should not think except the Dahej, other terminals are underutilized. We would require at least world average capacity utilization is around 40%. India is well above that. Of course, you can say they have the cyclical heating requirement and all that. Given all everything, we should create the capacity at least keeping 60 to 70% utilization in mind. With that, India would require somewhere 120 MMTPA to 150 MMTPA LNG capacity creation, and at present we are at 67.7 MMTPA with under construction consideration, otherwise less than 50, 47.7. So we need to create the infrastructure because it doesn't come in a day. It takes time, and when you require, and we have seen the way renewable energy is growing up, you require capacity to augment, to supplement renewables. The gas is like a flywheel. It provides flywheel, and it happened last summer. The capacity except Dahej no one could support.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Gyanendra. So let me come to Evgeny, and let's discuss about the small scale LNG segment in transportation. And we are seeing very exciting trend in countries like China, where more than 50% of commercial vehicle sales are LNG based. And so how are you seeing that trend in in Russia or in other global markets, and how do you see that as an opportunity in Indian market as well? What are your views here? LNG as a transportation fuel. Yeah.
Thank you. See, we practically same prospects in Russia, comparing with China, and definitely we follow trends on Indian market and understand that in this sector, in LNG transportation, we also should be in very tight connection with India, and we really would like to revive our cooperation with India in LNG sphere, because as I think everybody knows about the problem situation which took place between Gazprom and GAIL, and really after that it took time to revive supply via CEFE from Novatek to Indian market. And we definitely follow trends. We see the growing demand for LNG and understand that it will continue growing in India because, first of all, this commitment to carbon neutrality, increasing of share in energy consumption, especially due to LNG from 7 till 15%. Besides that, we see the supply chain in already existing our cooperation, that more than 30% of LNG is utilized by fertilizers manufacturing. And Russia is one of the main supplier of fertilizers also to Indian market, and we know that LNG is required for the same. So we understand that in any case we will be partners in this sphere in the nearest future. And now we see signals from our companies, practically 2 last months, 2 companies, Gazprom Export and Sakhalin Energy visited India and plan to continue its presence here. And really, we understand that Qatar supply, US supply, will definitely be here and will impact on prices. But we are very competitive in prices because our prices are linked to oil price, and our price for oil is very competitive. LNG is 25% cheaper, and every time is linked to oil prices. Besides that, we have 2 main plants. Both of them are situated north of Russia and northeast of Russia, Sakhalin and Yamal SPG, so we can use absolutely safe North Sea route for supply to India. So in any case, I see huge prospect, and now really we are doing our best to solve all problem issues like used to be with Gazprom, and provide these competitive long-term contracts between Russia and India, absolutely realizing that demand in India will be increasing, especially due to already existing terminals with 40, if I'm not mistaken, million tons consumption, and expecting 70 million ton consumption, practically double.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Imjani. So before I conclude, let me just have a last discussion on the technological aspects. Yeah, let me come to Mr. Sandeep Jain. Yeah, thank you. So, how do you see the technological advances in and various other measures so that the cost can be optimized, the capital cost can also come down, or for example, the operational efficiencies can also be better with respect to the LNG terminals and also the floating terminals? Yeah, technological advances.
So, as far as regasification is concerned, regasification terminals are concerned in India, we are also thinking of adding tankages, because in India, what's happening is that the tankage is very less. And therefore, what we are exploring is that instead of putting up the standard tanks of 180, 170 cubic meters, we can put up FSU, floating storage unit, which can come which will be very cost effective, and the construction time, the establishment time will also be very less. So there is one area where we are working very hard, so that we are able to create additional storage in the country. In fact, the country needs strategic storage also, and putting up tanks will takes a lot of time. The other, as far as liquefaction is concerned, yes, floating liquefaction, offshore liquefaction plants have also been announced, but they have not been very successful globally. So therefore, only I think 1 or 2 plants are in operation. In fact, in USA also one of the plants was announced, but it is still the FID is yet to take place. And the third sector, small scale, which I wanted to talk about, is where basically not only the technologically advancement, but there is a lot of potential in the country. In fact, we need to switch over from diesel to small scale LNG as auto fuel in this country, because like China, which is doing around 20 million metric ton right now, we also have potential. We sell around 90 million metric ton of diesel per annum, out of which 40% is used for heavy duty and medium scale vehicles. And therefore, even if we convert only 10% of it to LNG as auto fuel, the potential in the country is around 3.5 million metric ton of LNG per annum. But we need to have infrastructure, we need to have that kind of technology available in the country, because there are a lot of, we have put up 6 stations, but there are a lot of BOG issues. We have not been able to control. So we are also exploring new technologies where we can put up a station where BOG becomes minimum. This is a worldwide phenomenon. And BOG, entire methane goes to the atmosphere. So this is a big challenge of BOG which needs to be controlled through technological advancement, for which we are still looking for an answer.
Oh, great. Thank you, Mr. Sandeep Jain. So that explores new opportunities in the Indian context. I think we can conclude the panel discussion here, and we can open a forum for a couple of questions if there are any from the audience.
Good afternoon. I am Mukesh Kumar from OCS Services. We are operating Ruby FPSO at Kakinada. And I was in Kakinada for a couple of years for hookup and commissioning of Ruby FPSO. We discussed about underutilization of Ennore terminal and Kochi terminal. But I can see there is a lot of potential in setting up LNG terminal in Kakinada. Pipeline is there, which is underutilized. It can be used to transport that LNG, which can be coming to the Kakinada port and can be distributed throughout the country. Maybe this can be taken up for further discussion. Thank you.
Any views, Mr. Sandeep? Yeah.
Basically, utilization of terminal is being discussed at length. Even PNGRB, as rightly pointed out by my fellow panelist, Mr. Sharma. But you see, the word over the utilization is only 40%. In India is 46% courtesy the Dahej terminal, which is utilized more than 90%, rather more than 100%. As far as Ennore is concerned, it is picking up now. It has crossed 26%. And now with the pipeline connectivity available, the utilization is likely to go up. And in 3 to 4 years' time, we'll see it crossing 60% of utilization. You have suggested, is a suggestion to put up a terminal at Kakinada. Yes, going forward as we require, our estimation is that we'll be requiring around 50 million metric ton of LNG, and it will definitely require around 65 to 70 million metric ton of regasification facility, so that we are able to import LNG. Kakinada, in fact, is being explored. Many companies are also exploring putting up terminal at Kakinada. But before that, we'll have to see the development of gas on the eastern coast. The trend is very positive, but at this point in time, it is only at an exploration stage until or unless the industries, they start converting on the eastern coast, as they have already done in the western and northern side. I don't think that it will find a very serious player exploring seriously putting up a terminal at Kakinada, because we have Dhamra, Gopalpur is also being discussed. So many terminals on the eastern coast may not serve the purpose.
Sir, I was working with Reliance when Reliance set up Gadimoga plant. And lot of power plants were set up in that region, and they were dependent upon gas supply from Reliance. And eventually what happened, gradually production declined, and these plants in that area, they were forced to shut down because of shortage of gas availability. So I don't know, but in detail, but I feel potential is there. Market is still available there. There are power plants available which can use gas as a feedstock. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
See,
I think. Yeah.
we have been discussing earlier also, GAIL, more than 10 years back, we did an MOU with Shell and another, I don't remember, Spanish company, GDF, yeah, for setting up a terminal in this place, Kakinada. Eventually it didn't come up because there was no confidence whether the required market is there or not. Unfortunately, in India, again, if you compare the US, there the FID of any terminal, whether it is liquefaction or regas terminal, they get FID they don't get FID unless there is a 50% tie-up. In India, it's supposed to be a business risk. The entity has to take that business risk of market. Coming to the power plants which you are saying, again that power plants themselves don't know whether how much schedule they will get. Currently we are seeing gas-based power plants only serving the peaking market, which is evening 6 to 12 p.m. and again sometimes in peak winters maybe morning 6 to 8 a.m. Now peaking power itself is not a business case for a power plant. They are supposed to be base load power plants, they are on turbines and we are struggling to meet the peaking power requirement of the country through gas-based power plants. It's a challenge in itself, whether you talk of the machines themselves, their technical on-off, everyday switch on, switch off, the machines are facing the challenges, and even the pipeline which supplies to them, they face challenges, the terminals face challenges because there is not a clear-cut business case. But yes, going forward, if you understand the European market, which is thoroughly on renewables and a combination of gas-based power generation, we have to develop our artificial intelligence capability for weather prediction, not only for, currently it is being done only for 2-3 days, whereas the other developed countries, they are able to predict for at least a month to 6 months. And then that gives some visibility of the requirement. There is a long way to go before we come up to that level, and definitely in the longer term we will come up to that level. Your question whether this will work or not, the Kakinada terminal, it's totally a business case somebody has to look into.
Okay, great. So I think I must thank all the esteemed panelists here for their insightful perspectives on this topic, and I hope the discussion has been insightful and very, very fruitful for all of you. I once again thank you, and with that, let me conclude this panel discussion. Thank you.